If you struggle to switch off after work, it's really not your fault. I actually find it unhelpful to think about the word switching off, and I prefer to think about moving down your gears into neutral. I'm Dr. Claire Plumley, clinical psychologist and author on the topic of burnout, and I've developed this 5-step method called the Parks method, which I show my clients. During the working day, each task you complete, email sent, challenge overcome, gives you a mini hit of reward, dopamine. And this is a neurochemical that makes us feel motivated, capable, and importantly, it's very focused on the future, your goals. So this means when the evening rolls round, you try to power down for the evening, there's a sudden pause in these dopamine hits. Your attempt to switch into the neurochemicals created when we relax and socialize can feel really clunky at first. It creates that initial feeling of feeling maybe flat, a bit edgy or twitchy or guilty for not working. And that's not you being lazy or addicted to productivity. That's the dopamine crash. And if you're not expecting that, it can make you feel a little anxious and like you've lost your sense of purpose. Actually, it's your nervous system which just hasn't got the memo that it's safe to slow down and rest. I refer to this as the handbrake on mode. So technically you've stopped, but your foot is still on the gas pedal and the engine is still on. Without an intentional way to shift gears, you stay stuck in that in-between state. You're neither productive nor relaxed, but you're just revving your engine. To actually switch off, you need more than just a closed laptop. You need to give your brain and body the right cues that it is safe to switch down the gears into neutral for the evening. And this is where my Parks method comes in. P in Parks stands for physical release. To move out of your drive system, your body needs to discharge some of the excess energy, dopamine, and stress hormones. So do something that helps to burn through these. I've got a few suggestions here, but just choose something that works for you and do it until you start to feel physically pleasantly tired. So I usually start with a few stretches just to get going. I've often held a lot of tension in my muscle groups and I notice that as I start to stretch. And then I might do something a little bit more energetic, run up and down the stairs a few times. Sometimes though, I find a good way for me is to go and do something vigorous like clean the tiles or hoover a room. Or just even going and peeling some vegetables, some movement there. So think creatively and you can try and find a way to fit it in with your routine. And just know that doing this is beginning to move you through to the next place in your nervous system. It's signaling we're done now. In Parks is to anchor. So do you remember the neurochemical of dopamine is very future orientated and goal focused, and we're trying to bring you back into the present. And a nice way of doing that is to use the breath. There are many different apps and tools you probably already know about for breathing. You can get apps like this which help to direct your attention for breathing in and then out. There's box breathing and finger breathing. Box breathing is when you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, release for 4, and finger breathing is when you use your fingers as a way of counting the breaths. There's no right or wrong here. Find one that suits you. But you can also just add in an affirmation if you would like, and this helps to remind your body that it's okay now. So I quite like these words. I've finished working for the day now. I'm moving into my neutral gears. Now we release the loop. What's looping in your mind? The more you respond to those thoughts that your brain generates of things you should go and do or remember for tomorrow, the more the loop keeps getting stuck in doing mode. So breaking the loop means resisting those urges to respond to those work-related thoughts. Instead, grab yourself a notepad and write down tomorrow's to-do list, any loose end reminders, any worries or ideas that keep bothering you. And when the thoughts come back, remind your brain, actually, those are for tomorrow or the next time I'm in work. You're giving your brain permission to let go. And when you've literally written them down, you can tell your brain they're parked, they're there, and I can come back to that when I need to. The 4th step in Parks is to kick the cues. Essentially, we need to remove any visual reminders of work. This is quite hard if you live in a place that's quite small and it's not possible to have a separate area of the house or flat where you can dedicate to work, but it is still possible. It's a bit similar to, say you're on a diet and you're trying to not eat chocolate and biscuits. Putting them away in a cupboard where you can't see them is really helpful. So shut your laptop and put it away in a drawer or cupboard. Throw a blanket over your workspace if you need to. Sometimes when the kids were little and I could see all their mess, I would literally just throw a blanket over it until the next day if I didn't have the energy and I didn't want to keep on seeing all the things that needed tidying up. You can also changing out of your clothes that you've been working in. Even if you've been working at home in something quite casual, try and have casual at work clothes, but also casual evening wear so that you can completely break away from the reminders. Final step in Parks is to switch tasks. This is when we choose something that's mentally engaging but has nothing to do with work. So, for example, you could listen to a podcast, do a puzzle or a brain game, read a book, call a friend, watch something on telly. Essentially, your brain is trying to shift into a new cognitive mode, not off, just elsewhere. Don't be surprised, though, if your brain continues to churn out thoughts about work that you should be doing. It's going to take time for your brain to shift into its Parks mode. Use your notepad to keep putting those thoughts down as and when they come up. Steps. Physical release, do something to move yourself. Anchor yourself in the present. You're reminding yourself, I'm not being future focused anymore. I'm coming into the present moment. Release the loop. Don't keep allowing yourself to get caught up in those thoughts. Respond to them differently by writing them down, parking them for the evening, ready to respond to tomorrow so you don't forget what they are and start worrying. Kick the cues, hide reminders of work in whatever way works for you, and then switch tasks. And here are some bonus tips for making these 5 steps work for you. Repetition. Your nervous system responds really well to repetition. That's how neural pathways are laid down. Allow yourself up to 3 weeks for the routine to feel really regular and normal. So it will feel clunky until then. Expect that. The second one is to have an accountability buddy. So this is such a common issue that there's bound to be someone you know or work with who wants to get their evening backs for themselves as well. So perhaps send them this video and let them know that this is something you want to do and ask them to join you. Perhaps you could find a way to message each other at the start of the evening when you're starting your Parks method, just to let them know that you're getting going, and that can be an invitation to each other to do the same. Perhaps you could have a call every week just to check in with how it's working or what's not working, because it's helpful to have someone to troubleshoot with. It's really easy just to give up the first sign of trouble, and having someone who gets it and the challenges can help us through. If you found this video helpful and you've liked the gears metaphor, you can go much deeper using my nervous system reset kit. This is for anyone who feels overwhelmed and burnt out, feels like they're struggling to cope with life, constantly feeling irritable or like they're not being that productive and efficient. And it will help you to understand what's going on underneath the hood of your bonnet, your nervous system bonnet, in more detail so that you can start to find a way out. If you prefer to consume content through book format, I also have this book, the green one is the US version and this is the British version in pink. And this book gives you, again, in a lot more detail, what's going on so that you can understand yourself and practical tools for feeling better. More information below here if you'd like to access either of those 2 options.